Hello everyone, I am Sacrobolic, your envoy of hope, and welcome to what I watched this week. This week was Loli week, or at least it was supposed to be Loli week, but I kinda started off on the wrong foot when I watched Gate. See, here's the thing. Everything I'd ever saw about Gate showed the character Rory Mercury, so I assumed Gate was a Loli anime. It wasn't. Instead, it was about some, omnicompetent douchebag. Rory's really more of just a secondary character. But the actual plot is that a, portal to a fantasy world called the Gate opens up in, modern Japan. And it's, the interactions between the Japanese military and this, other empire of fantasy people. It has a lot of good ideas. And I liked seeing how the differences in technology interacted with each other. Especially because, a modern day army could just, fuck up a fucking group of people in armor. Right? Plate armor does nothing to a modern bullet. So, that was kind of cool. But the real problem with Gate is it doesn't execute these ideas very well. Mostly because it's a show mostly about politics, so it's character driven. But the characters are, although they have really good designs, which is why I watched it in the first place, their personalities are really, really they're flat as cardboard, is what I'm saying. It's like a pretty picture painted onto a cardboard cutout. The main villain is just this shitty fucking prince who's full of himself. You've seen the character a million times. I don't need to explain him. So yeah, I wasn't terribly into Gate. Then I watched Kodomo no Jikan. There's no N in that. Which is an anime famous mostly for its controversy. So the thing about it is, it gets a lot of flack because it's supposed to be about, this girl that's, trying to bang her teacher. And it's kind of about that. But even there, I don't think she actually wants to bang her teacher because anytime anything remotely sexual happens, she immediately freaks the fuck out. Now, Kodomo no Jinkan is... There's that fucking N again, that's not in it. Is actually more about, love and growing up than it is about the pedophilia. Every character in the show is in love with someone, but they're all in love with someone in a slightly different way. The main girl has a crush on her teacher, for example, but her guardian had a thing for her mother. It was a mutual thing. And then she died, right? So, yeah, but it's also about growing up in that, every character is growing up in some way. One of the teachers is learning how to, communicate better with people, because she's never had to before. The main girl is learning to grow emotionally, and one of her other friends is developing early, so she has to learn how to physically grow into her own body. There's also some emotional development with her too, because she's being neglected by her family. And the last girl in the trio is a lesbian, and the show plays that totally straight. At first you think, oh, it's just one of those classic girl things, that they do in anime where there's a best friend who acts like she has a thing for the main girl. No, she's actually straight up a lesbian, and part of the show is her learning to deal with it. It's actually a shockingly good series. I was surprised. I thought it would just be fucking loli fan service and sex jokes the whole damn time. It wasn't. Nice drama. Then I watched Serial Experiments Lain. Lain is a fucking weird goddamn anime. It has a lot of trippy visuals, and speaking of the trippy visuals, other than those trippy visuals, the show is animated like fucking horse shit. And as I watched an anime older than it, like one each week last month, I'm comparing it with things of its own era and not modern animation. Lain just does not look good. But that's fine. It's not a show that would have lived or died based on its animation quality. It's about a young girl getting into the internet. That's not what it's about. I don't know actually how to explain what it's about without kind of spoiling it, and also it's just kind of hard to explain what it's about. The big problem with Lain is that as I was watching it, it felt like a puzzle piece. It doesn't try and give you all the information at once. You have to watch through the whole show and like try and put it together like a puzzle, like you just said. My problems with Lain is that when I got to the end of it, I thought there was going to be like, it always felt like I was missing pieces. And I thought at the end I was going to get that one piece that just ties the whole, that, just puts the whole puzzle together. And then I didn't. And I'm like, okay, I think I have a rough understanding of what happened. But it didn't feel to me like it fit together properly. So I went and I watched videos like I did with Evangelion. I found like this like video from a so-called, he called himself a veteran Lain watcher. And it was supposed to be a whole video explaining Lain. But the problem is I just watched Lain and I knew that it shed some insight, mostly with like the self-entitled god of the internet. But I knew some of the things the video was saying was wrong because I had just watched it. And so then I took like the new insight I'd gained about the god of the internet that I'd missed when I'd watched it myself, because I honestly thought I just wasn't paying attention at first. And I realized that the more I tried to put the puzzle together, like I'd get something that that makes sense, right? That seems like that would fit in with the plot. And then it didn't, because I could think of just one other thing to counteract it. And it makes me wonder if Lain actually makes sense, like, perfectly. It also drops a shit ton of plot threads. And this actually gets me thinking about stories like Lain, which are, like, intended to be open to audience interpretation. Stories like this are usually created without, like, a concrete answer by the creator. Not always, but usually. And because of this, they put evidence that could swing your where you're going one way or the other. And that usually, not always, means that since the show is supposed to be able to swing one way or the other, when you actually compare all of the evidence to itself, it ends up not possibly being able to go any way. Like, both ways are wrong, rather than either way could be right. Of course, you can have more than one way to go with, like, Lain or other series. I'm just using 2 because 2 is an easy number. So yeah, I don't think Lain makes sense perfectly. I mean, it makes sense in that, like, you get the idea of what's happening, but I don't think it all fits together perfectly. And it drops a metric fuck ton of plot threads all throughout its runtime. It's crazy how many plot threads it just drops. Then I watched Astarote's Toy. It's about, like, a young succubus girl who has to learn how to be a succubus. So she makes a bet that if they can find a human, which isn't found in her world, she'd do it. And they find a human, but he brings his daughter along, for the ride. They don't bang in it. It was mostly just like a lighthearted comedy. It was really funny at the start, and then got less funny as it went on. I don't really have much to say about it. And I also watched 10 episodes of Gosick. I'm probably going to talk about Gosick more next week when I actually finished it, so I won't really say anything about it right now. It's probably going to be a pretty glowing review. Anyway, as for when the fuck that video is supposed to be coming out, I would love to tell you that I got most of it done this week, and it's just, bam, it's right there next week. It's first thing. I can't tell you that. I got really distracted with Hyperdimension Neptunia and got basically none of it done. So it's coming, is my guarantee to you. It will be out eventually. Anyway, I've been Sacrobolic, you're Envoy of Hope, and I'll see you next time, guys. Bye-bye.